let everyone know. So I'll start just with the intro of myself. My name is Jennie Cheng. I am a member of the AAPA community. I've worn different hats. I started as a volunteer. I've been in the AAPA board leadership program, which is a fantastic program. And in 2019, before the pandemic, I joined AAPA Toastmasters. I have a MBA and Master's in International Relations. I've worked in the finance, various asset management, banking, worked and studied in obviously the US, China, Japan, and Taiwan. And I'm currently a first line manager at a multinational bank. I joined Toastmasters because in my work, I have a lot of interaction with C-level execs and a lot of coordination with our Canadian counterparties. I hope to, through my AAPA journey, be obviously a more engaging, dynamic speaker and to grow as a leader. AAPA is a wonderful platform with mentors and various programs. So just to start, going over the agenda today, I'd like to provide an intro of AAPA. So with AAPA, we have three main programs. The mentorship program, which is sort of the foundation, where we provide one-on-one mentorship through our network of mentors. The board leadership program, which I was an alumni of, which creates a pipeline of leaders to serve as a board member on a nonprofit board. And we have a Toastmasters chapter, which I'm also in, which helps members develop their public speaking skills. We created these IdeaTalks last year during the pandemic to have conversations with our community, youth. They're more frequent and in place of the in-person sessions that were previously held. So just as a quick logistics, I encourage everyone to mute videos, mute your just speakers. I will be muting all here and really encourage everyone again to come on video and to interact with our speaker and moderator today in the Q&A. With that, I would like to start with the intro of our moderator today, A Walk with Anime. So Walk with Anime. Anime is a smart-wit packed host with a dynamic and welcoming demeanor. From her humble beginnings to becoming a CPA, Anime's wealth of knowledge understanding spans into many different facets of life. And of course, our guest speaker today, Jennie Cheng. Ha Truong is a founder of Leadership Savvy. For 20 years, Julie has worked with thousands of leaders in meeting their goals to build a better life and world. Her background is in leadership and strategy consulting, as well as executive coaching and recruiting. She has worked across sectors, including public, private, and nonprofit, making a difference in multiple industries, including healthcare, education, arts and culture, government relations, workforce, and community development. She has a master's in public policy and management and has been a faculty at the American Jewish University's School of Management. With that, I would like to turn the platform to Anime to get started on our how to get noticed on LinkedIn session today. So Anime, on to you. Let me know if you have any issues with speaking or anything else.
No, thank you so much, Jennie. Everyone, welcome again. My name is Anime. Thank you to AAPA for inviting me, as well as Julie, up onto stage. I'm delighted to be your host for today's IdeaTalks on how to get noticed on LinkedIn. So first of all, I'd like to ask you the question, have you had difficulty getting noticed by recruiters or even getting new potential clients on LinkedIn? I know I have. And with the change and just surge of reorganizations and the mindset of getting noticed, of the work-life balance and having all of these different changes in the workplace, LinkedIn and all of these other job platforms have had a tremendous amount of activity. And so I know for myself, I have had to really continuously pivot my business just to navigate all of these work and social platforms. And to tell you the truth, it's quite exhausting. And I don't know if I've fully been successful at doing it well. So fortunately today, I get to interview the wonderful Julie Ha Truong, and she is going to share with us some tips and success stories of her clients as well as for herself on how to get noticed on LinkedIn. Julie, welcome. Welcome to the stage. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anime. I always love the beautiful smiling faces here at AAPA events. Thank you so much, Francis and Karen. She couldn't be here with us today. She's hosting actually another event. You guys are very busy. And then Jennie for helping to be our moderator and host today, and Jaden for your tech help as well. So it really takes a team to be able to put these events together. Anime, you've been so gracious to be our wonderful host. It's a real honor to share the stage with you and your energy and insights.
Oh, thank you so much, Julie. And I'm so excited to hear everything that you have to tell us, especially your experience. I think you've had so much, you've done so much with LinkedIn, and I can't wait to share all of your stories with everyone. So first off, I'd like to start off with the question, well, why LinkedIn? Why are we talking about LinkedIn today?
Yes, so I want to share that I have had a lot of success on LinkedIn. It doesn't mean I have 10,000 followers. What it means is that I have the right followers. And let me tell you, it wasn't always smooth sailing. And so I've had some hiccups along the way where I've made great connections. I've been very busy and applied time and content onto LinkedIn and then have it fall flat. And then at other times of the year where it gains so much traction, I feel like I'm struggling to keep my head above water. And so I have had to adjust throughout the years. And to be honest with you, now I look at my own personal and professional goals and adjust every quarter or every year. So I just wanted to share that right off the bat, that it's not always easy. And that's just kind of part of the journey. Fail fast, right? You got to just take a step forward at a time, give it a try, see what works, do more of what works, and abandon what doesn't work. So I'll be sharing some of those lessons today. But why we collectively chose the topic of LinkedIn is, as career professionals, this is still the platform to be on. There are so many platforms now, dozens of social media platforms, but this is really the big whale. LinkedIn, I taught almost the exact same class last year, and we were toting 500 million users. I just looked up the new numbers. They're now at 750 million users. Active users, people who are signed on and actually looking at their LinkedIn sites. So these are a majority of working professionals, people with college degrees. I think about 70, 80% have some sort of degree. And when surveyed, 80% of them say, yes, I drive business decisions at my company. So those are exactly the people that we want to connect with as we are building out our careers and our skill sets. I also would like to say that this isn't just a numbers game. It's also whether or not does this platform work for us. I mean, we are the people who make this platform possible. And last year, Business Insider asked the community, who do you guys trust when it comes to social media platforms? And actually, I was quite surprised. LinkedIn was at the top of the list. LinkedIn is rated #1 most trusted platform. So yeah, I think that's great. That means they're on a great trajectory. And so we just got to hop onto this bandwagon, right? If you are looking for to be noticed within your current company or by other companies, there are 55 million companies on LinkedIn. And so it's also a place where not just individuals play, but where companies are starting to play. If you are in the job search world and use LinkedIn, you are not alone. It's a very active place. There are 40 million people every week looking for jobs. So if you are a job searcher, you're looking to connect or network, if you are a recruiter, if you're trying to build your team for your company, this is where people are actively playing. And I have been a recruiter myself. I spent 3 solid years recruiting managers, supervisors, senior level professionals, the C-suite executives, and even board member positions. And I can honestly say LinkedIn was the #1 place we went to find candidates.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes complete sense. So I mean, if we look at our profiles, I'm sure I can say that everyone here online does have a LinkedIn profile, right? I think so. I don't know if we want to raise hands, but what's a low hanging fruit? Like, how can we improve our LinkedIn, the basics? Like, let's just get back to basics right from the beginning.
Yes. So most of us have a LinkedIn profile, but I loved when you opened, you said the world is changing. So I am getting more professionals who are coming to me saying, I have a profile. I'm not sure if it's working for me. I'm not getting a lot of traction. Is it even worth my time? So these are the questions that folks are coming to me with. And I can tell you, I had those exact same anxiety ridden questions when COVID
Yeah,
hit.
I
Everything
know.
shut down, my connections, we were all like just exhausted mentally. And we've kind of been that way for the last year and a half. LinkedIn is the one place where I could go to kind of get sparks of inspiration, see what people in the field were doing, and just reconnect with folks. So I could
Right.
do it in a way that was very personal by reaching out to a friend or a colleague, or I could do it that was a little more global. Hey guys, here's a great resource. What do you think about it? Or I woke up today, it was really hard to find energy, but this is what I did to refocus myself and to share that with others. So LinkedIn was actually a place to connect, but without the heavy burden of like having to get dressed, right? Putting on an event. I mean, post COVID, we all had to relearn how to connect with people and stay motivated. So for me, I can also share that I've had my own company now for 2 years, right? So I'm considered a pretty new consulting firm, but I've been doing consulting for 10 years and I've been working professionally for 20 years. And so LinkedIn is the one place where when it became just me, right, an employee of one, I had to lean on LinkedIn. Uh, this is um, this is a place where I would say you can utilize your connections the best because we may not have time to call all 100 contacts, but this is a place where I can stay top of mind to my dearest 100 contacts and just let them know, give them updates. Hey, this is what I'm working on. I'm partnered with AAPA. I'm working with Anime, right? Francis, oh, what a great resource. Thanks for sharing. This is where my tribe, we connect and we stay updated with each other professionally. And so I realized that I love that community that is built. I try to provide resources. And so I invite you to um, think about what resources you can provide. So I have a couple of steps that I hope will be helpful for you.
Yeah, that would be really great. Yeah, let's hear it.
Great. So before you just dive in and start building and posting on LinkedIn, I'd like you to take a moment to first think about yourself. What experience do you have? But more importantly, what are you really proud of? And what are you really proud of? And on top of that, what are you good at? What do you want to be able to exercise more, do more of? Oftentimes, LinkedIn, when people first approach it, see it as an electronic resume. And what an electronic resume kind of does is it documents your history. But documenting your history might not be the exact path that you want to take moving forward. So I want you to take control of your current narrative and future narrative. LinkedIn is that spot where you can curate your own story, right? So understand who you are and what you want to portray to the world. That helps you set you on the path for where you're trying to go. And so that's where I think if you take a moment to understand that, that seems like a big ask. I think it may seem really hard to know how to do that. I recommend you just to really think about 3 to 5 things that you would like to be known for. You would like people to say, oh yeah, Francis is really great at that. He can connect you with someone in that area. Or, oh, Karen, she's all about leadership development, right? What are 3 to 5 things you want to be known for? And as you start to put that on your profile, talk about it, post about it, share resources, you're going to become a trusted partner in those topics, and you'll start to find more relevant contacts come to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're really talking about building a system and process because I know when I try to reach out to my networks and calling, it does take a lot of time. I mean, it's not usually just a 10-minute call. It's a half an hour, it could be an hour call. And you're really improving that process by reaching more people with less amount of work from your side. But at the same time, so on the flip side, I'm looking at my profile and what I do, right? So my personal goal is to gain traction. I want to gain traction. I have a profile. So what I do is I like other articles. I do a lot of sharing, but how and what can I do to be noticed even more by the right people? I think that's the key, the right people.
Yes, Anime, I've seen your site. You're being very humble. Immediately when I look at your site and wherever I meet you, we've connected in so many groups. Your brand is very consistent. So I want to hold you up as an example of, it's very clear you've thought through who you want to communicate yourself as on your LinkedIn profile. And so that's what got me so excited about you, actually. I met you at an event for literally 5 minutes. She was interviewing me. It was like a speed networking thing. Then I went to her LinkedIn profile. And what I'd like to say is your LinkedIn profile validates who you are. So people will meet you by referring through a friend, or you meet at an event, or maybe a company meeting. But if folks get interested in you, they're going to go to the online platforms, and professionally, they'll go to LinkedIn. So you want to make sure your LinkedIn profile is an echo of who you're trying to put yourself out in the world. And so two of those places that actually Anime does pretty well that I see people underutilize are their subheading and the about section. The subheading, oftentimes people just put their current job title. And if that job title really clearly shows the rank and the type of work you love to do, then that's perfect. But if it doesn't, if it's a little more generic, if it maybe doesn't really represent the work you do, how many times have you been hired to do these 3 things, and then you get to the job and they add on more to your plate, but your job title doesn't really reflect that, right? So I want you, again, to claim ownership of your subheading and create a few words that reflect what you really want to be known for. So for me, under my name, my subheading says training, consulting, coaching, right? So people know right away the type of work that I do. For other people, they actually put the impact that they make in the world. So I have a friend who's a writer. And so she, under her heading, she says, doubling revenue through your unique story. So immediately I know that she's a storyteller who helps you improve your sales, right? So you can also think of it that way. So it can be a little boring like me, like this is exactly what I do, or you can talk about also your impact, right? But please own that subheading and make it what you want it to convey. The other place is the about section. That is the most underutilized real estate because it is the first place recruiters and your colleagues will look at. Let me learn a little bit about this person. And the about section, sometimes if I'm lucky, people will write 1 sentence. I don't want a book, right? I don't need 5 paragraphs, but 1 or 2 really punchy paragraphs. One, just touting your background and your experience and why this work is so exciting for you. That allows me to get on board and want to learn more about you, right? So 1 paragraph that is really colorful and interesting pulls me in. And then the second paragraph, I would encourage you to think through that list of skills, experiences that you have, things you want to be known for, and try to capture as many keywords as possible. Because that is what people will notice. Oh, she's a marketing person. Ooh, HR is their experience. Oh, finance. Okay. These are the things that people will grab onto. And not only just people, I know we might talk about this later, Anime, but robots. Yeah. LinkedIn is a lot based on AI. And so as a recruiter, I would go into LinkedIn, and to save time, I wouldn't go to each individual person. I would use their search bar to say, I'm looking for someone who's a senior leader in the HR field, right? So you got to make sure your keywords match the types of searches that other people are putting in.
Absolutely. And I'm so interested that we're talking about robots. For me, I don't know if I'm a little ignorant, but I had no idea. I mean, I had a sense that robots were looking at it, but I think there's more to it, and we really have to delve deeper in them. So I'm glad you brought that up, and that we'll talk about that more later. So what you suggested are very doable things for all of us. You know, you gave us a framework of how to fill out our LinkedIn profile. We just have to sit down and take the time. But I think my question is, well, what's next? What do I do after? I'm completely lost.
Yes. So this is not too unfamiliar because you have such a personality that people gravitate towards, right? And so I think you can expand your network very quickly. But is it the right network? Are they the connections that are really helping to advance your goals, your career? And so this actually reminds me of one of my other consulting clients. When they just called me, they said, okay, I made my goal. And so I feel like I can get a coach now. And so this was an intake call. I've never met this person. And I said, what do you mean you've met one of your goals? And so now you can get a coach. And he said, I have just spent the last 6 months building up my LinkedIn following. I'm like, oh, good job. That's wonderful. And what are your results? And he said, I have 11,000 contacts. Wonderful. How did you do that? During COVID, like people, that's really hard. And he said, I spent 2 to 3 hours every day just connecting with strangers, right? And so really putting in the homework to do that. And he said, but now I don't know what to do with them, right? And so he kind of went about it the backwards way. So this is a great example of why you should start with what you want out of this relationship first. What you are hoping to accomplish in your professional goals. It's not just a numbers game. It's not just about connecting with folks for the sake of connecting with them. And so when I asked him, what do you really want out of your career? He said, I want to make a pivot. He's been in the hospitality industry. With COVID, he's realized there's nothing, like everything shut down, but he doesn't even want to go back into it. And what he wants to do is take his sales and marketing people connecting skills and apply it to the marketing field. He's done a little bit of marketing in his hospitality industry. And so for me instantly, and I'm sure for you, the dots are connecting. He should have been spending those 2 to 3 hours for 6 months, right? Every day, connecting with marketing professionals, right?
That's right.
And I'm sure the marketing professionals would have told him, well, what type of marketing, which industries, right? Is it social media? Is it writing? Is it strategy? And then just a few marketing connections, I think would have gotten him down a path that is much clearer on how do you develop a career in marketing, utilizing the skills that he already has. So I hope that doesn't happen to you. I tell you that as a warning, to not get too lost in the numbers game, because the robots, the like buttons, the number of comments, that's oftentimes how we judge success. And no. You judge success by what is most important to you, okay? And it'll take a little bit of work. So you might not get the 10, 20 likes right away, or you might not get that phone call that says, hey, I'm a recruiter, I'd like to talk to you. Professionally, in every industry I've worked in, it takes 7 to 10 touch points. So you have to catch the eye of an individual 7 to 10 times before they will even notice you or remember what you do, or even be compelled to connect with you and circle back.
That's a lot.
Of course, that's an average, but yeah, it is a lot. So if you do it really well, you might be able to hone it down to 3 to 4 touch points. But there are some people who are just putting things out into the universe without a real goal, and they don't gain as much traction. But even me, I know I have to have at least 7 touch points with people like Francis, like Karen, like Anime. I have to show up on your LinkedIn feed a couple times, maybe share an article that I wrote or that I found interesting, maybe send an email once in a while to say, hey, how are you doing? Or maybe a colleague of yours says, oh, I saw you were on an AAPA event with Anime, right? Then you're reminded again that, oh, Julie exists. But it isn't just a one-off. It does take a little bit of homework. And I share that with you so that you don't get discouraged, right? Professionals like me, I still have to do the homework. It still takes 7 to 10 touch points before I see real results.
No, absolutely. And I mean, sorry, are you finished?
Yes, we can continue.
Yeah, let's continue. So, I mean, you gave a perfect example of one of your clients that they spent 2 to 3 hours online just trying to get connections and likes. One of the things that popped into my mind is, well, AAPA is an Asian-focused organization. And with Asian, I don't know, the mentality and a lot of stereotypes. I mean, numbers and quantity and winning and having the most is quite ingrained in our upbringing a lot of times. And yes, I am generalizing, but for me, that's how I've seen and how I've grown up. And so it's very easy for us to get stuck in that trap of, I need more numbers. I need to be the top. Everyone needs to see me as the best. And we don't really look, or we don't, the second question or the second part to it is the quality. And we might not get there fast enough. We should be looking at the quality of our connections ahead of time. And so I just wanted to reinforce how important that is. Especially when it might be against our nature of the first thing that we think is right to do. So that's really important, the quality of our connections. So thank you so much for sharing that. You know, you talked a little bit about your client. Can we talk a little bit about you and how you were able to grow your personal network and your company's network?
Yes, yes. I want to think of a story that that resonates. Let's see. So I mentioned earlier that that I had some trouble on LinkedIn at first to get connected, and then I told myself I wanted to make sure that not only am I being noticed, but that I am being of service. And that made it much more meaningful to engage actually on LinkedIn. It was a motivating factor for me. And so I immediately reached out to people that I knew that was doing exactly this work, helping lifting up other leaders, other professionals, other Asian American professionals, especially like AAPA. And together we brainstormed ways in which we could partner to be able to do more good in the world. And so I found myself writing articles, guest blogging, guest interviews, guest speaking, doing trainings. And it was like multiple things every week. And I was gaining a lot of traction, but I was so exhausted. And I went back and I said, what am I doing? I know I'm doing something right, but also what am I doing wrong, right? And being able to hit the pause button. I think as professionals, sometimes when we gain traction, we forget to hit the pause button. And at those moments where we feel like, oh, we should be celebrating our success, we just keep going and we get so tired. And as professionals, I want us to be okay with hitting the pause button and saying, is this really the right path? Or am I just kind of following the winds that are pushing me this way? And so during COVID, I realized on LinkedIn, I was gaining traction, but it really wasn't the right folks that would help grow my consulting firm or were like matches with my professional interest. So for me, I want to help leaders build really strong organizations. And one of the hardest things about leading organizations is finding really qualified leaders. There's a lot of passion out there. And so as a recruiter, I realized that, yes, we have an excellent pool of people, but they still need training, they still need coaching, they still need mentoring. And so I had to go back to my drawing board, my LinkedIn goals, and realize it's not about helping everyone, Julie. It's about helping those leaders who are aspiring into leadership positions. So many Asian Americans have so many skills and then they second guess themselves, right? So I want to be there for those professionals that are just on the cusp of greatness and kind of help guide them to that area where they have the confidence and can find that position where they are being in a position of power, but helping hopefully make everyone's work lives better, right? Being really leaders that we want to look up to. And so I had to go back and, say no to some requests to be a public speaker because it didn't align with my goals. And then I had to knock on the doors of some of my other partners and say, hey, I relooked at my goals here and it looks like this is what our sector really needs. How about we talk about these topics instead, right? So again, knowing what you want and what your goals are helps you to really target and helped me target how I put myself out into the world. So I just want to give you a very concrete example. So going from anything leadership development and career-based, I now really focus on executive leadership coaching, right? So I'm looking for those people, executive leaders who want to be coached to do better.
So how do you do that though? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And then the second thing is business strategy consulting. So if a company wants to change what they're doing, status quo isn't good enough. They want to, really accelerate. That's where I come in and be that strategy consultant. So I realize I have to focus on those two. And so the specific things that I'm doing are, I have to keep these three things going through my mind. Is my post relevant, right, to the time? There's been a lot of moments in the last year and a half where we have to have some sensitivity with what's going on in the world. So I have to make sure that. Number two, is my post helpful? Does it leave a resource? Does it leave a tip? Does it connect someone to something? And three, does it share a bit of personality? Is it personal, right? I don't want to be just another generic post, right? Where I'm just forwarding another resource. Does it help emphasize who I am and my brand? On these social media sites today, people want to know who's behind that post. So if your post, you don't have to accomplish all three in one post, but over time, your post should be relevant, helpful, and personal. And I know for some people it's scary to post. So think of them as micro stories, little insights into what makes Julie tick, right? So one of my most popular posts was one where I have a picture of just me standing in front of a Post-it wall. I had like 100 Post-its on the wall, trying to plan out all of my events and projects. That's the one that gained traction because people are like, oh yeah, I know what it's like to be inundated with work and you just gotta like organize, right? So you'd be surprised. Like some of the posts that are very personal, very relatable, those are the ones that really gain traction.
Yeah, because I think if I think of myself and just even my peers, we all have struggles, and probably these struggles aren't as unique as we think. And when you do post it and share those stories, other people, they just relate and they feel closer to you, and it makes you an actual person online versus this just a digital being, right? It really does personalize it. And so I think it's really important of what you said of storytelling, being helpful and making it relatable. So that's great. We've talked about from the aspect of you being a business owner. And so can we talk on the flip side of a person that's in a corporation, in a company, and they want to look for career opportunities? What can you help us with or describe that could support us? And actually, I noticed that there was a question in the audience, and please, everyone, if you do have questions, feel free to type it into the chat. We do have a Q&A after, and we'll get to them. But if I see something relevant, I'll definitely ask Julie. So, how do we get opportunities, career opportunities through LinkedIn? And then the second one is, in the About section, is that searchable? So if we can talk a little bit about that, that would be great.
Yes. So I'll tackle the second question first because it's kind of a follow-up to earlier. That About section is not searchable in a very clear, like whose About section talks about finance, right? However, on the LinkedIn side, their AI does search the About section. So your entire profile page, they glean all the keywords from your profile page to create an understanding on the LinkedIn side of the type of professional you are. And they kind of put you in a bucket. So, oh, this is a marketing professional, mid-level manager in this industry. So then when I, as a recruiter, or even just any user, you can go into your search bar right now and actually type in some of those keywords. And yes, that is exactly how the LinkedIn robots find you, is through those
So
keywords.
I have to put in a mid-management, or I have to put in the word management if I'm looking for a manager role or opportunities in that sense.
Yes.
For example. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, but there are other ways they look for that information too. So if they see that you've been in the workforce for a certain amount of time, or that you graduated at 10 or 20 years ago, they can kind of see that, okay, this professional comes with 10 years of experience. And on the recruiter side, there's actually a sliding bar that I can choose. I'm looking for somebody with 5 years of experience or 10 years of experience. Yes. So the other question of how to really use it for career development and find those opportunities. So that a lot is about connecting with other people. So, but I want to make sure that I hit the first step first. So that first step is what we've been talking about, updating your profile to the story that you want to share, right? Really featuring the things that you are proud of, that you want to do more of. There might be things that you were great at that you're tired of. You don't want to do any more of that work. Then don't put it out there as prominently, right? You can still mention it, but really highlight the things that you are most passionate about, so people find you for that. Okay, and once you have that, then you can do your second step, which is really start to get noticed, right? First, you were just establishing. Now you're ready to get noticed. And so there are two ways to get noticed. One is to put yourself out there digitally as a thought leader by posting, by creating articles, by sharing videos. But the other one is to connect with people. And so you can connect with people digitally as well as old school, right? Actually connecting and inviting them to a virtual coffee or to a meeting. And so here's how I would go about it. You want to make sure that you are leveraging your existing contacts before you tap into.
Oh, did we lose? I think we lost Julie for a little bit.
Yep.
I guess so.
That's all right.
Well, anyway, why don't we continue with a couple of the questions out of the audience until Julie comes back?
Absolutely. The only thing is that I'm not sure how to answer them, but I can answer them from my personal experience. So I saw that one of the questions in the audience was, how much is too much to post? So to give you a little bit of a background about my personal journey, my background. So my personal background, I'm actually an accountant. In Canada, I'm based in Canada. I studied accounting. I did my Chartered Accountant. So in the US, it's the CPA. I worked at Ernst & Young, and I did my stint there. And then I moved on to a more marketing and pricing role. But at the same time, I had the opportunity to host to host a festival, and I got the bug. And so my life goal right now is to be a full-time host and to be almost like the Asian Ellen DeGeneres, to have my own talk show, to talk to different people, learn about their stories, play games, play music live, and just have fun. That is my personal goal. And right now I see the opportunity for that, especially for us in the Asian community. We don't have someone like that, and I hope to fill it. When I look online and how I post things, again, maybe talking a little bit about my personality, I'm actually a very private person. Very, very private. I don't really talk about my personal relationships, my family, things and struggles like that. So I have a difficult time being as authentic as possible online while also maintaining my privacy. So what I've noticed is that there are different methods on social media, and I think all the different platforms, we have to be reminded of what we should do for each one. So for LinkedIn, for example, I do like to talk about my experiences, because as a host, I do get a lot of really, really unique experience. So let's talk about something like this. Oh, hello, Julie.
Julie, we can't hear you. I can.
Hi, Julie.
She's back.
She's muted.
So Julie's on mute right now. So as Julie figures out her,
now?
Yes. Yes.
Yay.
Hey,
Sorry
welcome
about
back.
that.
that's okay. Julie, I think you're cutting in and out. You might want to try to tether to your phone.
All right. Let me see about that.
Yeah, maybe while Julie tries to
How does
on the internet, let's finish the story. So I worked with the Minnesota Vikings, and my experience, so I've never played football. So I worked with the Minnesota Vikings. They're promoting touch football, and I was really able to get to speak to NFL players. So my experience there was being with all of these very, very famous people accomplished sitting in a room, and I was like, I don't know what to do or how to feel. I was so intimidated, and I was so excited. So what I wrote about my experience was, one, how did I learn about football in about 24 hours and to feel confident in that? I mean, you know, we talk about the imposter syndrome. And so I wrote my experience of this imposter syndrome and kind of what I did. I think all of us can relate to it. And that post, it did really well. And people were talking just about what they did when they were put in a very difficult situation, had to learn something very quickly. So I do kind of relate my work experience and my work life into articles, so that it is still personal, but not too personal. And that's kind of how I get around of, you know, posting things that I feel comfortable with, but while being authentic. So Julie, I see that you're back. Hello, Julie.
Sorry about that. I always have a backup hotspot. So, I can't even show it.
Smart
Yes,
person. Very
apologize.
No, that's okay. So Julie, why don't we continue just about, you know, how do you get noticed and find those opportunities? I think you were talking about that.
Yes. So I think I was cut off right when I was talking about how to start connecting with people once we have established our profile. And so I want you to remember your existing connections will continue to connect with you and actually celebrate you. People love being able to support each other, and it's a reciprocal relationship. So as we post more regularly, and I think I saw Francis's question earlier about how often to post, we'll get to that pretty soon here. But as you start to post more regularly, your existing connections they'll really just be a supportive network. It's beautiful. And then to make sure that you are really hitting most of your existing networks, do not forget to upload your email contacts. So on LinkedIn, you can actually go and click a button that says sync with your email contacts. And then there will be a button that will say like sync with Outlook, sync with Gmail. And it isn't syncing 24/7. It's just pulling your email list from Outlook or from Gmail, for example, one time. And so they will cross-reference. Okay, it looks like, you know, this many of your contacts are already on LinkedIn and connected with you. It looks like this many are on LinkedIn, but you're not connected. Would you like to send an email to invite them to connect with you? So that's another way to expand your existing network on LinkedIn. And then for the new connections, because we want to start working a little savvier, right? And expanding our network. So thinking about your goals, the industry, the things you want to be known for, you want to start connecting with folks that have similar interests, similar industries, right? Similar roles, and start reaching out to them. And my most important tip for you, because I don't want you to mess this up right off the bat, and I know you're eager, is making sure you're building a genuine relationship first. Even if you're hoping to get a job or an internship or that they'll make a referral for you, it is really important that you start with them, right? You've already targeted them because they have a similar interest and goal and will help you with your goals. So you already know that. But you don't need to make that as explicit when you start reaching out and building that network. Really research them a little bit. Think about, I love starting with, wow, I am very impressed by the project you worked on. I worked on something similar here, thought we should connect and exchange some ideas, right? So showing that genuine interest, folks, we all genuinely want to connect with folks who have kind of a shared mindset or that we feel like we can learn from each other professionally. If it starts to seem like you're asking for something right away, we all have had those before. It starts to feel spammy.
It does. Yeah. And so everyone in the audience, we have just over 5 minutes left of the interview. So I'd like to encourage everyone to start writing your questions down into the conversation in the chat box. And we're going to get to them right after we're done these last questions with Julie. So remember, start typing your questions in now. This is a perfect opportunity to talk directly to Julie. So Julie, Francis, you had a really good question and that I answered, but I want to hear Julie's perspective of how much is too much about posting. And do I post personal things? I know I struggle with that. I feel like a lot of you might struggle too. So how much is too much? Do I post personal postings? What do I say?
Yeah, I know that putting ourselves out there, especially as Asian Americans, can feel a little bit boastful, right? And At some point, we don't want to be selling ourselves. We would rather for others to kind of recognize us for the good work that we do. Newsflash, we are in America, and the squeakiest wheels get heard.
It's true.
They get the promotions, they get the features, they get the rewards.
I need to interrupt you for 1 second, Julie. So Thomas, do you hear this? Thomas felt I noticed Thomas, he wrote in the chat that he doesn't like to post about himself. So I'm pointing this, I think this conversation is directed to you.
Oh, Thomas, it sounds like you are already doing many things right, because you are getting featured and acknowledged.
Well, I'm covered in a lot of stories, like with CIO.com. I was featured in the Wall Street Journal, the Enterprises Project. I think for me, it's maybe the Asian upbringing, but I don't like talking about myself and things that I've accomplished or things that I've done. And so you'll notice that I don't update my LinkedIn. I got promoted this year. My LinkedIn doesn't even show that, right? So that's just me. But I noticed a lot of other people, they post everything. They're speaking at an event, they post on that. They're highlighting an article, they post on that. They're nominated for an award, they post on that. And I think I just need to get more comfortable doing that, because those are the posts that take me longer. I don't know how to really say, read this article because it's insightful when it's quoting me, right? I feel kind of uncomfortable with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, Julie, I think Julie, you'll have a ton of answers.
So whenever that happens to me, I try to not make it about me, even though it is about me. But a lot of times these articles or these awards are created is to promote the sector, to promote the type of work, to promote the project, to promote the partnership or the brand, right? Sometimes it's sponsored. And so that is our opportunity to thank them. And so maybe just kind of shifting the purpose of that post from, instead of being a news flash about my latest feature or award or presentation, I flip it to help all of those that are helping feature me. How can I help them meet their goals? And when I feature them, then they will actually feature me, right? So you don't even have to talk about your award. They'll talk about your award for you. All you have to do is to let folks know what a wonderful awards program that was. There's so many wonderful people that have been featured by this. So it's just a little bit of a tweak, because I feel the same way. I used to be a dancer and was always in news articles, was like on news stations performing to promote the next community event. And at some point I was like, I don't want to document any more of this. Like, my parents are so proud. They want to have like a whole inventory of all my newspaper articles. But now 20 years later, I don't have access to that. I'm going to have to go to my mom to get access to that. So it's about, for me, those features now I realize it's not about that Julie was a good dancer, right? And it was a pretty costume. It was about the fact that I was uplifting Chinese culture. And I was a source of pride for my Chinese American community. So just kind of shifting the lens a little bit about why we are posting. This is not for you, Thomas, but for some of the folks who feel like they don't know what to say, right? And so I want to remind you, you don't need to overthink it. Like just now, when you saw a little bit of my Post-it note background, Thomas was like DMing me saying, I love it. It's like an insight, a glimpse into your work world. It's very human and honest. That is the world today. So if you are going into a meeting and you're this is kind of a big meeting, you're a little nervous, what do you do to prepare, right? Do you take a deep breath? Do you write notes? Do you maybe shave or like do your hair a little differently to give you that little boost of confidence? Those behind the scene tips are things that people are really interested in nowadays. It doesn't always have to be the big wins, right? Or coming out of that meeting, you can share, wow, I was so nervous, but here's what I think I did well. And here's maybe one thing I'll do differently next time. Even those glimpses can really show that you are someone who's a continual learner and that you're not afraid to learn with other people. Now, the frequency, I want to make sure I address that because it's been asked a couple times, is if you were talking to a professional marketing social media consultant, they would tell you daily posts for sure.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And I am fortunately not a professional marketing consultant. We may have some in the audience and I'm sorry, but I really think it is, what is your next goal? And so if you haven't posted at all, and you've just been kind of reading the post and maybe share a little here and there, gaining some consistency would be your first step. So even if it's just posting one time per week. Now within that, there are different options. You can take the easier routes, which is just sharing something else somebody posted. Another step is to share, but add a sentence about why you think that was interesting or celebrating what they posted. And then third would be to create your own post, right? So there's kind of these degrees of getting more and more involved. But if daily posts are too much, just try weekly. LinkedIn articles are also really powerful. They don't get seen as much, but they live on your LinkedIn profile forever, where posts start to get pushed down to the bottom. There's a separate section for LinkedIn articles. So a recruiter like me or somebody, a professional like me, might go to your page and just look at your articles and see, oh, Thomas has written a few articles on AI. Okay, so he's interested in that. He is well connected. He has something to say, right? He's on top of the trends regarding AI. So I have had clients who have said their employer said they were against 2 or 3 other candidates, and their LinkedIn articles actually help the employer see that this person is not just skilled, but they are on top of the trends. And so they actually got the job. I've had 2 people not very recently tell me that their LinkedIn articles help solidify them in their new role.
No, that's fantastic, Julie. Julie, we are coming to a close. And so I'd like to ask you one last question and to give opportunity again for those in the audience to type in your questions because we're going to move to the Q&A portion. So Julie, I mean, you and me, we connected for our love of the API community and just elevating us as professionals. How can we elevate our own voices? And I think people in the audience were talking about true meaningful connections. Can you talk about just the true meaningful connections and just any closing tips that you might have for everyone listening?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm so happy we connected kind of on a whim through actually another event.
Yeah.
And have had an opportunity to continually to stay in touch. One tip that I like to do is not only stay connected, but ask what are you interested in moving forward right now, right? And because there are so many assumptions, I think, that we make of each other. So I have an assumption of who Francis is and why he's here. But when I do my check-ins with them, I should be asking, at this point in your life, what are you looking to accomplish? And how can I be helpful with that? I don't just say, how can I help? Because a lot of folks will do that for me. Like, how can I help you, Julie? And I get overwhelmed. Like, what do you mean, how can you help me? And I don't want to feel like I'm using them, right? But if they ask me, like, what are some of your just immediate goals? Then I can tell them, oh, I'm trying to get some clients in these areas, or I'd like to work more in these fields. Then they can start connecting the dots for me. And so I've had to proactively ask Anime that too, right? You have different paths that you are traversing. And so I check in on those different paths and try to see, is there different ways I could be helpful? And before I offer my help, I ask you, is this something that you would be interested in? And so it's that genuine 2-way connection, that give take. And one other tip is write down a list of 10, 15 folks that you feel are important to continuing to advance and maintain your career, and slowly build that network, that tribe, your immediate network. And that short list will be folks that you will regularly be reminded, I need to connect with them, make sure I have a sense of what's going on in their lives. And it is those people, those partnerships that I have built that have helped my company. Well, it has grown so fast. I could have never imagined over this last year. It was a really tough year for me. I lost my father in addition to all the stuff that was happening in the world. And so I had to disengage for many months at a time. And it was that tribe of 10 to 15 people and partnerships that kept me going personally, but also online, right? So AAPA was still talking about me when I was at the hospital with my dad, and how grateful I was that AAPA was lifting me up professionally when I couldn't.
Julie, that was so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing even your personal story of your father. I'm so sorry for your loss. We all feel for you. I think this has been a very tumultuous time, the pandemic. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. But overall, like what I hear from you is LinkedIn is one of the most powerful tools for all of us, and it continues to just gain more and more traction. And learning how to utilize it properly is pivotal for us in terms of advancing our career and growing our businesses. Some of the key learnings, at least of what I've heard, is personalize, be helpful, be authentic and genuine, have real connections, and the really big one is have quality connections, quality over quantity. So Julie, thank you so much. How do we get in contact with you? If we're looking to support you, everyone online, how do we support you, Julie, from going forward? What do we do?
Yes. Well, I definitely have to say, connect with me on LinkedIn, since this is a LinkedIn training. And even just say something like one thing that you enjoyed from the training, and then we can really connect on LinkedIn. And then the LinkedIn robots will see that, oh, these two people are talking to each other and posting about each other. So then we'll start to see each other's updates. So that's how it works. The more you connect, the more you start seeing each other's posts. And if those topics are relevant, then you'll want to read about it, right? So you'll have more and more relevant posts on your LinkedIn feed, and it'll be a ball of fun, right? You'll actually enjoy what you're reading and what you're posting. But otherwise, I am at, my company is called Leadership Savvy. It's two different words, but you can find me on my website, www.leadershipsavvy.com. And I have lots of free trainings and events that I post links to on there. There's also a series of YouTube videos that teach you step-by-step how to better utilize LinkedIn. So if you guys want to check those out, they are free.
Oh, that's fantastic. And can I add some more things? I want to support you as much as possible. So a couple things that I'm going to ask everyone in the audience would be, one, if you can write a recommendation for Julie or some sort of review online to tell everyone of the impact that she has made to you in this learning session. I think that's very important. Two, just follow her, and then also comment on her videos and subscribe. Social currency is just as important as like actual, dollar value currency. So if you could do that, that would be wonderful. And hopefully we can support you on your journey, Julie.
Likewise, I would love for folks to be able to connect with Anime as well. Thank you so much, Anime. You're so kind. Because we are all in this room here today, all of us we're in the same boat, right? We are people who want to do good in the world and want to be able to utilize our skills and be recognized in different ways, whether it's monetary, whether it's pride for ourselves or from our family. But let's help each other out. So I look forward to connecting with everyone and also answering your questions coming up here.
Yes, amazing. So we do have a question portion right now. I have some questions that were submitted ahead of time, and then I will continuously look at the Word document to see, Jenny, if there are any more questions you can add there. So first off, Julie, so for someone that's a little older, they know that social media is important, but it's difficult to navigate. What would be the basics for someone that's maybe in their 50s trying to use LinkedIn to grow their network? Really good question.
Yes. Actually, most of my coachees are older. So they've been working for 20, 25 or more years, and they are trying to pivot their careers. And so want to use LinkedIn to get noticed and potentially really choose their next job, because it might be their second to last or their last job before they retire.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those folks, it's even more important to not be pulled by your last 20 to 25 years, right?
Yeah.
And so the easy route can be just documenting what you've already done.
Mm-hmm.
But the next step, hard work, is to think about, who do I want to be known as? What do I want people to know me for? And that can be very different. I had a lawyer who had worked for 20 years as a lawyer, and now he wanted to help nonprofits that serve underserved youth. So he had to tap into very different experiences, and some of the legal projects he worked on helped families. So he had to elevate that type of language versus just, I'm a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Wow, that's a great response. I think a lot of us are challenged with as you become a more experienced in your role, sometimes when you compare to a lot of new people in the industry, it's that ageism that is there. And so it is difficult to stand out and to show different value. So those were really good suggestions.
Can
The
I
next
add?
question- Yes,
Can I add with the
absolutely.
ageism?
Yes,
It is real
it is real. I know.
because it is real, and because folks who are of an older age believe it's real.
Mhm,
It's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
mhm.
But the other self-fulfilling prophecy that I want to instill in people's minds is when you are older, there is an assumption that you know more,
Mhm.
that you are wiser, that you can manage people, right? That you're going to get up in the morning and get to work on time. Like you've done the hard work. And so a lot of folks second guess themselves. And even though they've been these career managers at like a not very high level, they're like, well, I've never managed anyone. I'm 55, but I've never managed anyone. That scares me, but I'd like to.
Mhm.
Like, put yourself out there, apply for that director job where you have to oversee 1 or 2 people, because people in the field are going to assume that at 55, you have some people skills and that you will be able to manage 1 or 2 people. So don't doubt yourself when others see potential.
Yeah, no, lean into it. Take advantage of that. Highlight those things, right? Remind everyone. So thank you, Julie. The next question is for someone that's a young professional, maybe Gen Z, fresh out of college. They live on social media and are tech savvy. What are the best ways to utilize LinkedIn to their advantage? Okay, so now we're looking at the opposite.
Yes. So as a recruiter, the hardest thing about being younger is yes, you're younger, but those experiences that you gain when you're younger tend to be very short-lived.
Mhm.
So I'm going to put on my recruiter hat on here.
Okay.
Okay. So number 1, get those experiences, whether they're paid or unpaid, internships, volunteering. I used to hold 3 jobs at a time when I was younger to get the different experiences that would be
Yeah.
needed to advance my career and give me
Right.
different insights into different companies. So yes, do that hard work. Now on the LinkedIn side and on your resume, it's going to look really disjointed. So here's my tip. Find ways to group your experience. So if you have a set of internships, group them under internships and have it span 18 months to 3 years, whatever it spans, instead of showing that you're having 3-month internships at a time. Because as a recruiter, I don't have time to look at each of your 3-month gigs, but translate it for me, make it easier for me to understand. Oh, so the last year you've had 3 different internships and they've all been about nursing.
Mhm.
Got it. You're looking to go into the nursing field. Like,
Right.
you are relevant to me, right? So what we're trying to do is make it easier for folks to understand, like, do the hard work for them, synthesize it for them. And then when you reach out to other folks to find a new internship or a new job opportunity, they'll go to your LinkedIn profile and it validates, okay, this is what this person is about.
Amazing. No, those are really great tips. The next question is, I see LinkedIn advertise premium for extra data insights, which looks very interesting. Should I pay for the premium on LinkedIn?
They're so good at trying to sell that, right? They
Aren't
give you
they?
a little bit of data and then they're like, ooh, to learn more, sign up for premium. I've signed up and those insights are actually really fun. You get to see who's looked at you, what industries, what companies they're from. When you apply for a job, they tell you you have this, you meet 7 out of the 10 qualifications they're looking for. And again, that's just a robot's best guess. I've
Mhm.
found the best guess isn't that great. So from
Mhm.
a recruiter perspective, don't rely on that. So
Okay.
one tip here for APA and women, to not fail, we often don't go for it, right? We kind of tell ourselves that if I don't go for it, then they can't say no. But folks who are of the mainstream identity, usually white males, they don't have that barrier. They, even if they only qualify 5 out of 10 skills, they go for it. And the other 5 skills, they tell themselves, I will learn it on the job.
Right.
That is the mentality that we have to have as women and as Asian American professionals. And
Mhm.
so sometimes that LinkedIn data can deter you from applying. Do not let it do that. First of all, it's a robot. Don't let the robot deter you.
These
And number
robots.
2,
Oh,
it hasn't been actually all that accurate. And sometimes it's because we haven't honed our profiles to have the exact right keywords. And so it may look like we're a little less qualified than we are. And how else are you going to gain the skills unless you go for it?
Absolutely. We have a couple more questions left, Julie. Is it good practice to express your views and ideas when commenting to generate reaction and conversations? Ooh, good one.
All right. I'm going to need you to repeat that for 1 second, because I didn't close and really answer the question on the premium or not premium.
Yes, yes.
So to let you know, I was on premium as a recruiter, and then I paid for a recruiter status as just an additional expensive charge. But now that I'm an independent professional, I don't have premium, and I use it for as much as I need. And then I have actually hit a wall twice in the last 2 years that says, you have sent too many messages, you need to start paying.
Wow.
So until you get that message, you probably still have a lot you could do on the free LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if we're spending 2 to 3 hours a day, like your clients, I wonder, did they have the premium LinkedIn?
They probably had a premium. Yeah.
They probably had the premium, right? Yeah.
You can send them messages.
Yep. So a couple more questions, actually. Well, okay, actually, I have my own question, but I'll put it to the end. Is it good practice to express your views and ideas when commenting to generate reactions and conversations?
Ooh.
I know.
It almost sounds like, I heard it, so I was like, I need to rehear that.
Yeah.
Because it's a little provocative, and those do gain traction. We are all in different industries, so it may be more or less acceptable. My sister is a dentist. She has said very clearly, she's not going to put herself out there as a political advocate. Like, it doesn't serve her business well. I'm in the leadership development, social justice, space. Yes. So my lack of participation would actually create doubt in other people in other ways. So you kind of have to look at, again, back to your goals, right? And I'm not putting myself out there as a full-time DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion expert or social justice consultant. So I don't do it at the extent of some of my other colleagues, but I think the work is really important. So I feature them a lot, and I will share their posts versus me putting out my original post. So this is a really good question. Should I do it? But also it's how should I do it? Should I be the one writing the original content, or should I be sharing others' content?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think to sum that one up, it really depends on the brand you're looking to push out online. So make sure you do that evaluation. So the last question here, it's someone else's question, but I have an add-on to it from my personal question. The question is, what are some good ways to build relationships to form meaningful connections with someone through that 7 to 10 touch points? So you spoke about the 7 to 10 touch points. And then my add-on to that is, when you are first emailing someone, how do you be authentic without, and it's a stranger? And, I know you mentioned asking, like, what are your current goals? I mean, that still seems a bit too forward. What are what if you have any suggestions of that first message of how to connect with someone also, that would be great. Yes. So the 7 to 10 touch points, as well as the first connection. And that will be the last question for our event, unless I see some new ones coming on. Great.
So the asking about goals is when you've already established a relationship.
Exactly.
So not right away. And because that's getting more personal, a little bit deeper. The initial ask should really be, I use the word, what could you write where you could mutually geek out on a topic, right? So, it seems like they're really interested in this topic. I am too. Let me write them an email that tees up a potential conversation. And so it's really about the topic and that project or that software. It's not about you. It's not about me as much. It's really about the topic.
Right.
So if I can get them to geek out, then we're on the same page, right? And then you get on that call and there's like no chemistry, then you realize, ooh, maybe we're not on the same page. That's okay. But at least I got the email. And so that's LinkedIn messaging, I think, is the first place you would reach out. Once connections start to get more comfortable with you, they'll probably ask you to move to email. So email is really the place where conversions happen. where relationships turn into potential sales or like a meaningful referral. And so the 7 to 10 touch points, one of them should be email. That is how you close the sale. So once they see you on Facebook, LinkedIn, you don't need that many platforms, but you have to show up a few times on each platform over time. Maybe a couple of emails, a mention by a friend in passing. You've got your 7, right? So I'll make my ask on LinkedIn sometimes. I know I always do a beginning of the year. Here's what I do. Feel free to send clients my way, or new year, new you. So you might be looking for a coach. Come to me. So, but I know that those LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram is not often where the sales happen. And that is really just how you stay top of mind. Email is still where you close the sale.
Right. It's just a conduit, I think, to get further and to create better, deeper relationships. So no, that's perfect. Julie, thank you so much. That was wonderful, everyone. I mean, I can't hear you, but I'm sure we're giving you all a big round of applause, Julie. Thank you for all of your tips and tricks and sharing your experiences. Everyone in the audience, the AAPA members and groups, I hope you had a wonderful time. And again, my name is Anime, Walk with Anime online, and I hope to see you at another future event. I'm going to give the stage back to Jennie. Jennie, take it away.
Thank you so much, Anime and Julie. So just recapping that, you know, we had a lot of also great conversations in the chat, but it focused on a couple things. You know, personal branding. We started the call with, you know, look at your subheading, look at your about section. We just had that conversation about, you know, building that relationships. It was a surprise to me that it takes 7 to 10 touch points to really kind of start getting the ball rolling and making progress. That the highlights that you made, Julie, you know, how do I post? What do I post? It's about being, you know, personable, geeking out sometimes with the commonality and creating value, being helpful, and obviously being relevant. That could mean a lot of different things, again, in today's time and society, with the pandemic, with gender, with you know, ethnicity related type topics coming up left and right. One of the big takeaways for me is, you know, draw people to what you want the attention to be on. So, you know, feature what you like to post, share, and be most passionate about. You know, don't focus on a laundry list on your resume, and certainly not on your LinkedIn. A lot of great ideas just on the operational side, you know, uploading, syncing with email contacts. We had a great transition point in the middle where Anime stepped in, and, you know, we got pockets of wisdom about, you know, how she's worked with the NFL, how she's, you know, I you know, would love to hear from you, Anime, in the future as well. It just seems like very colorful experience and wisdom and talent. Thank you for moderating today. Just to close out the session, I have posted it earlier, but I will be doing that very shortly as well. We have a survey. This helps us improve in this environment. As you can see, we're always pivoting and improving and looking to drive and bring value to the AAPA and broader community. So, you know, please provide your inputs, as that will help us create better events and you know, bring in more relevant, helpful and speakers and activities going forward. I'm going to go ahead and paste. I did it earlier as well, but Julie's website and Anime's website and handles and LinkedIn, again, they mention it as well, but please connect with them. Please follow them. I mean, one of the things that we've highlighted here is that when you connect someone, you don't connect with just them, you connect with their community. It's actually very powerful, especially in the digital age. So really recommend everyone reaching out, connecting with Julie and Anime, and, you know, following up, putting in a recommendation, putting in a good word if you know, found value. I certainly did in everything that was shared today. Also, just going forward with AAPA, we continue to have a lot of interesting program through those 3 arms. Thank you everyone for joining today. So as a next event, AAPA via the IdeaTalks program will have another session on assertiveness that will be on Thursday, September 2nd at 6 p.m. Welcome everyone to, follow our newsletters, keep an eye out for that. Join us. The next meeting for Toastmasters, which I'm an active member of, will be next Saturday, August 28th at 10 a.m. We meet twice a month, second and fourth Saturdays. And next week, we'll also have Stephen Chan joining. He's an AAPA mentor, so it'll be a treat. There will be sort of like a fireside chat and session after that. So with that, just wanted to thank everyone again today. And wanted to make sure that this handles were coming through. I'll post Anime and Julie's information one more time. And AAPA's information as well. I mean, with that, I actually, since we have Francis, who's been, founding member, very active, always find Francis very inspirational. I like to just pass it to Francis if there's any last words before closing the session today.
Thank you, everyone. Obviously, Julie, Anime, thank you for your insightful ideas and suggestions. I'm going to start. Very first thing on your suggestion will be look at my about and look at my subtitle and start making changes. Yes, I need to think about the controversy about sharing your idea. Definitely, Thomas mentioned no politics, got that. But very, very practical ideas and precaution in this world of chaos. So welcome. Thank you, everyone. And look forward to see you all again. Thank you, Jenny.
Great job.
Thank